Hey everyone, this is Sheefra, and I'm really excited to share this training with you, how to slow down to tap in. Because one of the most common questions I get from people, wherever they're at their journey, right? Whether they're just starting out on their spiritual quest, or maybe you've been at this for decades, I will get the same question from all walks of life. I mean, yoga instructors, doctors, both Western and Eastern, acupuncturists, spiritual entrepreneurs, parents, artists, the same question keeps coming up. And it's this: Sheefra, how do I slow down enough to really hear what my inner voice is trying to say? How do I tap in enough stillness within that my inner magic can come forth to the surface? And so this is exactly what we are going to get started with. This is such a simple yet profound practice that's going to get you to be able to drop in right away. And you're going to have the tools to slow down, to come into stillness, and to come into a degree of inner silence that allows for the magic that's already within you to come to the surface. I'm going to begin with a super brief intro to Kabbalah cosmology for you, because what this is going to share with you is how anything comes into form. Because in this tradition, how the entire universe comes into form is the same as how your goals come into form. So if your goal, for example, is to tap into your inner magic, to find stillness, to slow down, to hear your true voice, the way that comes into form is a microcosm of how the universe at large comes into form. So your goals, your ideas, whatever you're trying to create, it's all going to follow these same patterns. And these patterns, these 4 steps, are how you're going to bring anything into your life, including the goal of slowing down to tap in. So I'm going to share a little creation story with you. So the idea of the grand level, and as I speak, apply this to your personal life, right? So at a grand level, the idea is that before there was anything, there was everything and nothing. So before the universe is created, or before your ideas come into form, there's literally infinite possibility. Anything could happen. So the story goes, the infinite, the endlessness wanted to make creation just like you want to create a piece of art, a business, a fill in the blank. So the infinite wanted to make creation, but there was infinite potential, and all its infiniteness took up all of the space so that there was actually no room to make creation. Uh-oh. Maybe you can relate. Sometimes there's so much noise, so much potential, so many ideas. On the one hand, sometimes there's negative thoughts and self-doubt, but on the other hand, sometimes there's just so much potential, and it can be a lot. It can feel overwhelming. There is so much to do in life, and it's so much so that there can feel like there's just not space. So what did the infinite do? First, the infinite created a void, contracting itself, and it removed itself so that it could create space. And then in that space, creation could exist. Now, this is what we're going to do in our meditation, is that we're going to learn how to create that space. But I want to take you just a little bit further. And I want to remind us that sometimes when we're feeling contracted, when we feel the lack of creativity, sometimes that's okay. So this is your permission slip, okay, that allow yourself those moments of contraction when they do happen, those moments of pause, of nothing is happening right now. And to start to be okay with that, because when you can be okay with when life hands you a pause naturally, as a part of the natural creative ebb and flow of life, well, then you'll be able to start to access it more easily on command. Okay, when you want to tap into it. But here's the thing is, if you continue to reject those moments of pause when life's ebb and flows gives them to you naturally and unexpectedly, then when we want to call upon that pause, it can be harder to access if we've been rejecting it. So this is the invitation to lean into those moments when they do happen. So what happened next is that now that there's this void, the divine could insert energy into that space. It inserted a ray of light to animate the space, to animate creation. And it was enough energy to animate creation, but not so much so that it overwhelmed it. Okay, right? And so now we're looking at this balance of how much are we giving and how much of our energy are we reserving and maintaining? Because too much on either of the spectrum can limit our creative capacity and our ability to really tap in. So now I want to talk to you about the path, the map that this ray of light, this energy goes through to go from infinite potential all the way to the living, breathing, condensed reality of the world as we know it. So if you've ever seen the image from Sacred Geometry of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, which is the image of lines and circles in the center of the star depicted on this slide, that Tree of Life is actually a map for how energy comes into form. Okay, and remember, this map, it's also how your projects and ideas come into form. So this energy, as we pour into our projects and ideas, it gets to go through these different energy centers, which are the circles that are depicted on the Tree of Life, on the map. In Hebrew, these energy centers are called Sefirot. Singular is Sphira, Sphira, and plural is Sphirot. In English, we call them energy centers or attributes. They're also called emanations, or you can think of them like personality traits. They're like personality traits or emanations of the divine, and so too, they're also personality traits of you and me, of ourselves. So this ray of light goes down through these major energy centers. And now these energy centers, what they do and how they work, and how to work with them more intimately, that's something that we're going to get to learn later on in more advanced trainings and more advanced meditations. But for now, I want to simplify down this process even further so that we can get to our meditation to simply start us where all of this begins, which is slowing down to tap in. So the energy centers exist on 4 levels. So for now, I actually just want to focus on these 4 levels or stages, which we call in this tradition the 4 worlds. So the energy of the divine and the energy of ourselves when we're creating anything goes through these 4 stages, the 4 worlds. The 4 levels or worlds are: 1, the world of emanation. Okay, this is the world where we create something from nothing. This is the world where it's just the seed of an idea. It's when you take the pen to paper. It's just that first dot. It's not even the first level, right? We're not even there yet. It's like the essence of creation, just the essence of it. It's not even in creativity yet. It's just the potential for it. The potential starts to come in and we feel it. This is called the world of emanation. In Hebrew, it's called the world of Atzilut. This is the world of belief. Keep in mind that your beliefs are on the level of the subconscious. We may not always be aware of our beliefs. People often say, well, I've been working on my beliefs. But oftentimes, it's really that they've been working at the level of thought and not really accessing the beliefs. And there is a specific way to access beliefs, and that is what we will get into in the story alchemy process that you will get to learn about later. But for right now, you're getting to get a really clear understanding of how your beliefs affect your thoughts, which influence your emotions, which in turn become the reality you are enacting right now and the experience that you're having. So then the second stage is the world of thought. So in the world of beliefs, your beliefs aren't even condensed into thought yet. That's actually the second world. The second world is the world of creation. It's the world of thoughts. I call this the painting, throwing paint at the wall stage. Okay, now you have all your ideas and you can think them through. Sometimes this stage can feel overwhelming, like bouncing off the walls. Oh, how about this? And what if this? And how about that? And what I noticed is that at this stage, because the ideas are still stuck in your head, they're still thoughts. They're not articulated into fully formed, structured, implementable concepts yet, right? There's still, these thoughts swimming around in the mind. So it can feel kind of overwhelming. And at the same time, it's important to allow this stage to take place. What I've noticed is that people will want to skip this part and go straight into taking the essence of an idea immediately into action. But ideas need time to flesh out. We need time to mix the paint in the palette and try the different colors together, so to speak. In Hebrew, this is called the world of Beria, and this is the world of thought. Now, luckily, there's a lot we can actually do to address our thoughts, because we have more conscious access to this. And again, there's some very applicable tools that I teach inside of my membership and other trainings and in the story alchemy process, which you will have the opportunity to learn about. But first, as a prerequisite, we have to learn to slow down. Right? Because what are we doing here? We're learning to slow down, to tap in. And after we learn these foundations, we're going to go over the final 2 stages. Then we can go through the meditation that is going to allow you to have a powerful practice to slow down and come into stillness, even if you just have a few moments, so you can access levels of inner silence that allow for the magic within to come to the surface. Well, how does anything come to the surface? First, it has to come into form. How does anything come into form? Well, that's where it gets really exciting, because now this is the 3rd stage, is the world of formation. And in Hebrew, it's called the world of Yetzirah. Yetzirah. It's the world of finally giving form and structure to our thoughts. These are the thoughts which originated in our beliefs. This is the world of speech and emotion. Now, here's an important thing to keep in mind. If you cannot articulate clearly with your words into sentences that you can write down, and I say write down because often when we speak, we tend to interrupt ourselves, cut ourselves off halfway, and it's easy to trick ourselves that way. But when we write things down, we're actually encouraged to finish and formulate the thought more clearly. So this is the world of form, speech, and emotion. It's the world of emotion because now that it's starting to take form, it's more palpable in the body and starting to take effect in the physical world. This is where you start giving form and structure to your ideas. And so finally, we come into the 4th world. This is the world of Asiya, the world of action. This is the living, breathing, embodied, coming to fruition of creation. Now creation is embodied and real, and while we exist on all levels, we really live in the world of Asiya. So this is how everything comes into being, how everything comes into form. So a quick recap. First, we have our beliefs, which become our thoughts, which become our emotions, and our speech, which become our action. So it's really vital to understand, if you're trying to find more inner stillness, to take particular note of stages 2 and 3, your thoughts and your speech. You want to take particular notes of thoughts and speech because these are the 2 that we really have the most impact with. Of course, we can also control our actions. However, our actions are heavily influenced by thoughts, emotions, and speech. And if you change these 2, the 1st and the 4th, belief and actions, will adjust accordingly. So now that we've gone through a condensed introduction to how we bring things into form on a macro and micro level, let's take a pause. And before we move, let's take a moment of pause before moving into the meditation to reflect. So, what are you bringing into your life? What are you calling in? What's the desire? And what are the sentences, the actual sentences and narratives that you tell yourself? Or if you're talking to someone about what you're desiring, what do you actually say out loud about what it is that you want to call in and create? So then I want you to notice in that story what the obstacle or challenge is in your story, and just take a brief moment to question what stories, maybe events in your life, maybe cultural narratives, or even ancestral stories that have been passed down, which stories might have seeded the beliefs that are influencing how you talk about your goals right now. Because these are exactly what are affecting how you move towards and take action or not on those goals. And of course, so central to what we do in Four Worlds Mystery School is the story alchemy work of alchemizing and working with these stories. And the first step, as you guessed it, is to slow it down so that we can drop in and tap in and be able to do that deeper work of making those changes at the level of belief, and then thought, and then emotion, speech, and action. So this is really, really powerful. And the first step, you guessed it, is slow down so we can tap in. so that we can tap into that infinite well that is our own clarity, that is our own inner knowing, that is a wellspring of love, and that is our own unique inner magic.